So today's topics are shown on the screen. We have two topics: connected apps. What are connected apps? Why do we need them? How do we use connected apps to deploy applications to CloudHub? We'll understand the concept and deploy applications using connected apps to CloudHub. The other one is also securing configuration properties. How do we do that? Why do we need that? So, but first, let me start from reviewing what we did before 2 weeks. So before 2 weeks, we talked about deploying to CloudHub using Maven, and we talked about what Maven is. We said Maven is Maven for project management. Let me talk of it for now. So in our previous class, we talked about Maven, that it is used for project management. It takes care of the building the project, downloading the necessary dependencies, and so on for us. And we specify the required dependencies in the pom.xml file, and we say POM stands for Project Object Model. So we worked on that, and also we went over this one. So Maven, what it does is, in our main project, it passes the pom.xml. Let me have a pointer. Bear with me for a sec. Okay, this one is new functionality from Zoom. Okay, so we say, let me see full screen that from here. Okay, yes, perfect. So let me move this around. So what we said is, when we build our application, Maven, it parses the pom.xml file for all the dependencies, plugins, and every configuration. And any dependency, if it is available in our local repository is by default under username, it is called .m2 folder. So if the dependencies are here, then it will use those dependencies in the project, in building the project. Otherwise, it is going to connect to a remote repository and get the dependencies and the plugins to our local repository, and also use them to build the project. And next time, when we build another project with the same dependencies, it will not need to connect to the remote repo because it has already downloaded it. And we saw, if you check your M2 folder over time, as you build more and more applications with different dependencies, since it downloads those dependencies, it grows in size. So this M2 folder is, if you go to your C folder, and users, mine is this one, there is this M2 folder, and there is under repository, you get all these different dependencies, the dependencies downloaded here. So this is our local repository. So we discussed that, and our main aim is to deploy, in this specific topic, our main aim is to deploy applications to CloudHub using Maven programmatically, rather than going to Endpoint Studio and manually, like coming here. Okay, which one is it? Like this one, for example. One way to deploy is just kind of like clicking on the project, going to Endpoint platform and deploy to CloudHub. But to automate our application deployment programmatically, especially to automate the full life cycle, or when there is any modification in our application, rather than manually pushing it, we want our program to detect that and push it itself, deploy it itself. So we want to do this programmatically, and we use Maven for that. So there are a couple of different ways to deploy using Maven, we say, and we saw two of them. So we saw using username and password, and the username and password we can include it either in the pom.xml file, or we can also specify it in the server.x, the settings.xml file in the Maven folder itself, the configuration in Maven. So the difference between, we saw these two, right? We saw these two. So the difference between the two is the first one, I mean, if you have to include it in the, let me open that actual project. I will close this for now. I was just testing for today's class. So here is what we're working on. So if you come to the pom.xml file here, and if we go to plugins, under plugins, we have, let's see, CloudHub deployment. Yeah, this CloudHub deployment. So we saw two ways to include the username and password. One, the username and password, it's themselves, we can include them here in the pom.xml file, but that is not a good practice because your credentials could get exposed. So rather than doing that, rather than including the username and password, here, what we said is a better practice is to come to your Maven installation. Here is my Maven installation. So come to the configuration. Under configuration, you will get settings.xml, and under settings.xml, okay, let me, this one, I will remove it for now. I don't need it. And that is okay here. I think I removed it somewhere, but okay. Anyway, this one, rather than doing like this, let me get back. So the previous one was like this. So we give it some ID, any ID. This ID will reference it in the pom.xml. Then we have username and password. So my username in this case, for me, is, for example, Christian 2223, and my password, I have some password. So that password, I will go bring it from LastPass here, MuleSoft, copy password. So this is what we did last time, right? So we give it some ID under servers. In the settings.xml, we go to servers. Under servers, we create a server tag. As you can see, it has ID, username, and password. You put your username and password here, and you give it some ID. And that ID, you reference it in the pom.xml file. That is calling server here. You see, using server tag, you put the ID. So this ID, my.endpoint.credentials. That is what I have here also. This is a better practice because the username and password, when you, for example, push your code to GitHub, or when you deploy it and so on, or when you share it with people, they don't get username and password. The username and password stays in your local machine. That's what we discussed in a nutshell in the previous class. So today we are going to continue from that and see even what is better and a good practice, and why is it good practice, what are its disadvantages, is what we are going to see. So today we are going to see connected apps. So we use connected apps, like if you just share your username and password to someone, then they can push to any of the environment they have. They can, they have full control. I mean, they can delete applications, they can deploy applications, and so on, because they are giving them the username and password. And they have control over the whole environment, to different environments. So rather than doing that, we can use connected apps and give them only limited scope to deploy to this environment. They are not able to delete, for example, only deploy to this environment. So we specify scopes and we give them credentials. And the credentials, when we create connected apps, the credentials it creates for us are here. They are called connected app client ID, connected app client secret, and this connected app grant type is by default, I think it is client credentials. So we are going to see this one hands-on. We'll understand it better. This one is the main topic we have today. Using connected apps to deploy to CloudHub by including this in the server diff XML. We'll see. The settings.xml in our Maven. Also, just providing these credentials in the command line without including it in any file. That is what we are going to see today. So yeah, our topics here. Once we complete connected apps, we are going to also see securing configuration properties so that we can integrate them. Going forward from now on, we are going to commonly use these two approaches in our deployment. So what are connected apps? I have the documentation here. So connected apps helps user delegate their access without sharing sensitive credentials or without sharing username and password. Also, rather than giving full control of their applications to third parties, they can give limited scope on. And the other advantage is actions taken by connected apps are audited. Users can revoke the access at any time. And when they revoke it, they have not shared their username and password still. And also developers can see how many organizations are using the app and how many users have access. The connected apps feature enables you to use secure authentication protocols and control an app's access to user data. It says it uses OAuth 2.0 and OpenID. We'll see this also in coming classes. So this is connected apps. And how do we do it? I have added a couple of links here that you can reference, and I have a couple of screenshots here. So from the connected apps, we get client ID and client secret. And in our settings.xml under servers, we have the server tag like before. We give some ID that you see here. For username, rather than my username, it just becomes like this. I don't change this one. You have 3 tildes, 1, 2, 3 tilde, followed by client, followed by another 3 tildes username. I don't change that. Then after that, this is my client ID. I put my client ID. Then there is tilde, question mark, tilde. Then there is my client secret. We'll see that. And then in our pom.xml here, like before, I don't change anything. I use the server because this is under server tag in settings.xml in the Maven. So here server, you have to make sure this ID here and this one, they have to match so that it gets the client ID and client secret from here. And to deploy, we use the same thing like before in the command line, Maven clean deploy. This is D driver for D for driver, D will deploy. Then it deploys that. And we will see also to undeploy it. To undeploy it, we have to specify the artifact. We'll see this hands-on. When you deploy, if you encounter an error and if it doesn't give, if you don't understand what happened, to get full information or in debug mode, you have to add this -x. If you add this one, then it is very verbose. Verbose means it prints every lots of details, but when there is an error, you know what happened. And how do we know that we have to use like this? You may ask, like these 3 tildes, what are they? And there is, in this documentation, you can see here. Let me increase the zoom. You see here, it says, to use connected application authentication, provide basic authentication. With basic authentication, defines the username as this one. The username is 3 tildes with client, and the password. In the password, we have the client ID and the client secret. And it says replace client ID with the client ID, which is this one, and the client secret with actual client secret. So that is what we are going to do. We are going to deploy this application that we have been working on. We are going to deploy it using connected apps. So here's the implementation. So in this application, what we are doing is when we send a request, it should give us the requested data in the requested format is what we said. Okay. So let me see here the next slide. Okay. So now we have to log into Anypoint platform. I have already logged in. I logged in, I think. Yeah, my account since it expired, I just created a new one. And so the first thing is how to create connected applications. So here you click here in the 3 dashes, you go to access, management, and then you have connected apps here. You can also create business groups, like for specific business groups, assign connected apps for specific business groups, for example. But for now, we are going to just do without business group here. Click connected apps here. So in the connected apps, what we are going to do is we are going to specify scope. Then it will give us, once it creates a connected app, it is going to give us the credentials. So now we click create app. Now we give it a name. I just tested with CloudHub deploy app. You can type whatever you want there. I have deleted the one what I tested with. Otherwise, yeah, it is not a good practice to use the same app name again. So in the type, we'll go with this one for now, with app acts on its own behalf. That is client credentials. Now there is this one, add scopes. So to deploy to CloudHub, what scopes do we need? Here is a documentation, how to deploy an application to CloudHub using connected app functionality. You can refer to that. But here, add scope. So there are a couple of scopes that we need that are must. And under connected application, let me go to the documentation here. I want to show you here. Okay. Connected application. Okay. I guess it is. This documentation is what I need. Yeah, here are the different ways to deploy to CloudHub using username and password. Username and password, you can add them in the POM file itself or in the settings.xml. Now also the connected apps, also the client credentials, we can do the same thing. And we have to use, specify this one is, and let me click this, I think for details, see connected apps for developers. And okay, somewhere it specifies the required scopes. One of the required scopes is design center. That is somewhere. Anyway, let's see it from the list here. So under, let's go to design center. Go down here. Okay, let's start with runtime manager. Under runtime manager, you see there are different scopes and they are disabled by default. So you can give only specific scopes to that user. So I will give CloudHub organization admin, read applications, create applications. Let me add also delete applications we want to test and deploying them. Download applications. Here also manage application data. And let's go to design center. Okay, design center developer, this one is required. It says in the documentation somewhere. And the other one is there is also profile. Let's see, profile. Yep, this one. So I have enabled these scopes. How many scopes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. then 78. So you can see there are, so when you just give username and password, you are just allowing all these scopes, but using the connected apps, you only give permission to specific scopes. So click next. Now it asks business groups. This is just my name. So that means at a high level, but as I say, you can also create as different business groups and assign these connected apps to that specific business group. So I will enable this. Now it asks me environments. As you can see, the default environments I will have design and sandbox. You can create different environments. You may have prod, you may have QA, you may have testing, and so on. So you can just give them only for that specific environment. Like, for example, you may not need to give them prod environment. You don't want them to mess up with your production applications where lots of people are using them. So using your applications, rather you want to give them the QA environment only or the test environment only. So yeah, here we can specify specific environments. For now, just select all of them and review. It shows me these scopes here. You review that once you are okay with it. Click add scopes. Now click save here. Okay, after that, what is this new functionality from okay. Okay, so here, if you just click here, you see there is this ID is client ID, and this secret is client secret. So what we do now is, last time we deployed this one. Let's make sure it works. Quickly, let me deploy it. We just like before without making any changes. I included my new username and password, and the ID is this one. That ID is referenced under server in this server tag under cloud deployment. So to deploy this application, can just right click on it and go to properties. You know the path here. If you don't know it, you can get it from here, or directly you can go from your Explorer also. So just click this one, it will take you to the location, information. So it is this one, design, develop, deploy, right? Click it, double click it. Now we want to deploy it. The command line, the terminal should be here, right? So you can just overwrite this with CMD, we said, then you have a command line in that location. As you can see, the path, this one, this path, and this path are the same. Okay, so here, what we do is simply to deploy it, Maven clean deploy bmule deploy. This is what we did last time, right? So right now, I'm not using connected apps. I'm just using the username and the password. And this username and password are not in the pom.xml, but rather in the settings.xml of the Maven configuration. Under configuration, we have settings.xml, and we are specifying this there. So when we share our code with someone, or when push it to GitHub, our username and password, it stays in this file. It doesn't get deployed with that. So here, okay. So let's check this. I will first compare this one with what we are going to do today using connected apps. So, and let's see this. I hope it will work fine. Okay. Let me duplicate this tab. Go to runtime manager, and I guess what is this? Oh, okay. It may fail because I don't have the same environment as I have. Like, I don't have training environment. So in this configuration, we specify the region, the worker type, environment, and so on, right? If this environment, if it doesn't exist there, it will give an error. So this should give an error. You see, okay. Even to understand it better, it says here, when you get an error, don't get overwhelmed. Try to understand what it is, what the issue is. couldn't find environment name training. This one is clear. But if the error is not that clear, even you can just add -x like this. Then it will print. Now it is in debug mode. It is just printing information, loss of information, including details of the errors it is going to print. -x is good. I mean, as you can see, it is the most verbose, but when there is an error, you understand what happened. So, but for this case, okay, so this error, you see, you couldn't find environment, name training, the same thing. The same thing is what it's saying. So the environments I have is that I can add an environment called training of type sandbox, or I can simply say sandbox. So if we just click here, these are the environments we have: sandbox and design. These are the only environments. So I can, let's just select, specify sandbox. So in the POM file, this training, I'm going to change it by sandbox, replace it by sandbox. Now let's try again. Okay. I hope this should be fine. Just giving us what it is doing. Okay. Deploying artifact. No, what happened? Let's see. Failed to deploy. And what's the error? Status: user unauthorized to access requested resource. Okay, what is the username and password? So, oh yeah, see this error, by the way, you may get in interviews or certification questions also. If it is 403, then it is unauthorized, and maybe there is some error in the configuration or in the credentials, and providing the correct credentials, the right configuration way, should solve the problem. Okay, let me see this one, if these are my credentials. So I will log out from here and try to log in. So username, Christian. I typed it two times by mistake. My intention was to type 2023. Okay, and this is my password. I'm here. Sign in. Okay, so the credentials. What is the problem? Then sandbox East Micro. Application also should not exist. It didn't say application exists error. What it said is the access permission error. So this is in my POM file. I have to make sure this ID and this ID match. Let me see. Let me open this again. And servers, username, password, server, my endpoint credentials, sandbox. Interesting. User unauthorized to access requested resource. Okay. Let's last time because it worked last time. Let's understand what happened. Let's create an environment called training and see if it works, pushing it to that environment, and we'll understand what happened. Environment is add environment. So I'm trying to push this one. I don't think that's the issue, but let's see. Training of type sandbox. I'm creating this. As you can see, it is training, and we said it has to be of type sandbox. So here, the environment, I will replace this by training. This one worked before in our previous class, so I don't know what I have messed up somewhere. Okay. Now, okay. Interesting. Failed to deploy this one. And unauthorized access. Yeah, by the way, okay, let me restart my Point Studio. Is it saving the changes I am making? Okay. So until this starts, what we are going to do is just the username and the password. The username will replace it by this one, and the password, instead of password, we are going to put client ID, tilde question mark, tilde client secret. But first, we have to make sure that even this version that was working last time is working, to understand what is happening there, what issue is facing. Okay. It's interesting. Why is this? Okay. Can you hear me now? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so it seems now it is working. It is taking some time. The only thing I did is in my form.xml, this W3 schools API, the application name has to be unique. And so I added dash fish to it. And now, okay, yeah, now it is not giving an error. As you can see, I think it is creating the artifact. Okay, let's see, let's give it some time. Actually, my intention for today, it was not to test this, to do this, because we did this last time. I want to continue by after testing this using the connected apps, using the client ID and the client secret, but it doesn't have to do it again and again. So yeah, this one, we're surprised even now why it is taking this much time without saying anything. And last time, once we did that, once it starts deploying it, we saw status change. The application shows up here and it shows it is deploying it. Let's give it some time. And in the meantime, we are going to look at the next section. So for the connected apps already, we generated, oh yeah, this one now, as you can see, it has come. This one undeployed, it will change, yeah, deploying. Okay, perfect. So yeah, when you encounter an error, what we have seen today is when the application name is not unique, it just gives 403 forbidden error. So make sure it is unique, add your name or something. So this one, it works fine. That's what we did last time. And we'll undeploy this and deploy it using the connected apps, client ID and client secret. So to review the connected apps again, we go to access management, connected apps. We have this, we just created this one, we copied the client ID. We have the client ID and client secret. Did I copy them? Copy them, I guess. Just either you can see them here. Client ID is here, client secret is also here, or by simply if you go to that application name, you get copy ID, copy secret from here. Let me make sure this one is deploying. Once it is deployed, we'll undeploy it and deploy using the connected apps. So what do we do for connected apps? Let's go to the slides again. For to deploy using the connected apps, we give it some ID. We can use this ID again. We don't need to change this ID. The username, I will replace it by this text. In the password, I will put client ID followed by this tilde question mark tilde and then the client secret. So this connected apps is used more for, especially for automating our CI/CD. So going forward, we are going to use a connected apps approach to practice it well. We are also going to secure our property files. We are going to use as much as possible. We will follow best practices. Okay, this one has been deployed. Let's quickly remove it. So to remove it, what do we do? We have to, if you go to that location here, so what it is doing is, like manually, we created manually, if you want to deploy manually using a jar file, we export a jar file, right? Or once we deploy it locally, it creates a jar file here under target. This is the jar file, this is the artifact. So if I just upload this manually, also it is going to deploy the application for me. You just click, go here, just deploy, click deploy. Now choose file. If you just click upload, and if I go to that location, which was in here, I guess, let me see the location here. It is MuleSoft developer course, class course. So MuleSoft developer course, class course, and design develop one, then target. Yeah, I can deploy this one also, the same thing. And if you want to undeploy it, you have to specify this artifact in your code, in the terminal or in the command line. So here, what we are going to do is to undeploy, we do, X is fine. Mule, let me show you the command we use. Command we use here is here. So mule : undeploy. Then we give it the path. I can copy this one itself. So the path, I need dmule artifact path. So to undeploy it, dmule, mule and deploy, then dash mule dot artifact, the path from that location, from the so we are deploying, we said we are deploying from the location where the pom.xml is found, right? So now to undeploy, the artifact is under this folder. So you have to specify equals to target, under target, the artifact name, which is, go to target, it is this one. And if you right click on it, its extension is .jar. This is jar file. But if you ask how do we know whether it is uppercase or lowercase and so on, you see it .jar here. So I will just copy this artifact name itself, or right click, rename, copy, then I will paste it here, then .jar. So it is going to remove it for us. We are undeploying basically. So if I come here, this application, where is it? Oh, it got removed already. So see, it undeployed it for us. You see now build success. So that means it was removed. Now let's deploy using the connected applications. So, but in the connected applications, we didn't give training. The training environment was not there. So let's quickly review our connected app. Okay, I can modify it, I guess. Click, add scopes. What do I see in the scopes here? Can I change the environment? Let's quickly even do it. That's fine. We can create another one. Delete this. Okay, I can copy the name. Here. To delete it, you have to give it the name you want to delete. Delete. Create an application. Now I want to create an application with that, with the training environment we just created. So add scope. In the scopes, we say it needs design center developer access. Let's see, and go down. This profile has to be enabled. You can see what you need, the scopes you need from the documentation link I shared, and the design center developer. And you can add also exchange contributor and viewer, or simply exchange administrator. And our main goal is to deploy to CloudHub. So let's see, runtime manager, CloudHub admin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one. Now we want, you see the training environment is here. Let's say we want only to deploy to this one. We want to give users to deploy to this environment only, not to this and this. So I just enable only this one, review, add scopes, save. Now I have the client ID and the client secret. So now what I'm going to do is, let me see if I have the text somewhere. Here, yeah. Copy this, and in our settings.xml, this part, the server, this part, I will replace it by, okay, this one. I'm not changing the ID, it's still the same thing. The username, from my username, it got changed to this one. Now I have to replace this client ID and this client secret. Where do I get them? I go to my connected apps, copy ID, bring it here, paste it here before the tilde, and copy secret, come here, paste it here after the tilde, save it. Now let's see, using connect apps if it works, deploying it. So it's the same thing still. This ID, again, we have to specify it in the configuration here under POM, the configuration cloud deployment. Server is there, you have to make sure this is there. Okay, that's the only thing. The only change we made, username and password, we replaced it, especially the password, we included client ID and client secret, and the username, we replaced it by this. So let's see, just I'll try to deploy it again. Maven, X clean deploy, dmule deploy. You can add, you can specify additional arguments. We are going to see next. This one, if I click next, if I click enter, it gives some error, I guess. It was showing an error. Let's see if it works or if it fails. Okay. Okay, seems it's working. Let's go to the environment. There is no any application, as you can see. We should see it here if there is no error in the deployment. So it should come soon. So now, if someone with a client ID and the client secret we created, if someone tries to push to deploy to the other environments, to the other environments we have, it will not work because we explicitly specified that we enabled only the training environment. The other environments, it will not work. So as you can see, this is more best practice than just sharing username and password, because you limit scopes to different users. You give only the safe scope. Some people may have only permission to deploy, others may have permissions only to read, and so on, or only to exchange, and so on. Okay, this one, I guess it should come here. Once it comes, after that, we will quickly also remove it, and we will see, rather than including it, another even better practice. The next stage is, rather than adding your credentials in the settings.xml, you can pass them in the command line when you play. That's what we are going to see next. It's taking anomalously longer time. But I hope there is no error. Otherwise, it would have shown an error message. Okay, while this one is deploying, let's discuss about specifying your credentials in the command line, rather than adding it either in the POM file. We don't need to add it in the POM file or in the settings. You just specify it when you push it in the command line. So for that, okay. Yep, here it comes. As you can see, now the status will change to deploying. Yeah, now it is deploying. So we are using connected apps to deploy it. We will also do the same thing to undeploy. And the other one we'll see is not even including our credentials in any file. Just use it only in the command line when we push our application to CloudHub. So this should not take much time. So what we do in that case is we are going to remove this from here. We don't need that. I will remove this. I'm not including anything in the settings.xml. I will not save it until it completes the deployment zone. Okay, and also in here, this server, we use server only if we are specifying our credentials in our settings.xml in the Maven configuration. So I will remove this also. So now what we do is, I will show you. Now we just use copy paste this, and I will explain what I'm doing. In the POM file itself, the server will replace it by these 3 lines. What are they? Let's stop. So to use connected apps, it needs, in the documentation, even it is explicitly specified, will be connected. Yeah, here. So basically, scroll down here, we are specifying connected app client ID, connected app client secret, and connected app grant type. This grant type by default is client credentials, as you can see here. So we are going to pass these values in the command line rather than including them in the settings.xml file. So this one, did it finish? Yeah, this one, it has completed deploying it. We'll undeploy it and then see how we can deploy it using the command line. So the same thing, let's undeploy it. I have, okay. Yeah, this one. So just using the same Maven -x mule undeploy dmule artifact. The artifact parts we have to specify. If I do this now, it will remove it from here in a couple of seconds. This will go away. Yep, so it has been removed. So now let's talk about our last way to specify the credentials in the command line. So we add these tags: connected app client ID, connected app client secret, and connected app grant type in the pom.xml. And for their values, we are putting here a placeholder, $, curly braces. We are giving it this value. I mean, this key connected app.client ID. The value of this connected app.client ID, we are going to specify it in the command line when we deploy. This one also, you can give it whatever you want, but if it is descriptive, it is better. So these are the key. And the values of this keys, we are going to specify when we deploy. So this is the client ID, key for the client ID, key for the client secret, this one, key for the grant type, which is just only client credentials. So that one, we add it, and CloudHub deployment, the server tag, we replace it by those 3 lines. So I have to make sure I save it. And also here in the settings, also since I removed the tag, the server tag, I am saving it. And as you can see now, if I just try to deploy, it is going to give me an error because I don't have credentials, and it doesn't know what these values are until I explicitly give this when I am deploying it. So how do we deploy now? How do you specify the values of these ones when we deploy in the command line? So what we do is, let me show you the text I have here. So we do like this. Like before, we have Maven clean deploy, dmule deploy. Okay. Now we have to specify values for these 3 tags. So we have the keys here: 1 key, 2nd key, and 3rd key. For each value, for each one of the keys, I specify their corresponding values. And you see here, so for all of them, we start with D- for the driver, then it is going to take it from here, from the command line. So connected app, the client ID, I have to give my client ID, which is copy ID. I will bring it here. It is 1 line. And next, after just adding dash, you specify another key also, which is a connected app client secret. The client secret is here, copy, and its value is this one. And next, for the connected app grant type, you see it. So I'm giving the values for this one, it is the client ID, for this one, it is the client secret, for this one, it is a client credentials. So as you can see, this is client credentials. Now, if I just copy paste this in the command line, it is going to grab the client ID and the client secret from the command line and deploy my application. So as you can see, my values, I didn't specify them in the pom.xml, but rather I just added placeholders using keys, and I have to make sure my keys are specified like exactly case sensitive as I have specified it here by prepending to each one of them -dmule connected app.client ID is equals to client ID value -d connected app client secret, the client secret value, and so on. So now let's see if this works. So let me clear this file, clear it first. See, I think is CLS. Okay. Now paste it. So now But as you can see, the difference between this one and the previous ones, we're adding our credentials in some files, but now our credentials, it will take it from here, from what we are providing in the command line. So click enter, error executing Maven. Why? Go there. Okay. Must match start tag. So here it is saying some tag didn't match. Let me see. Did I mess up my, where is my settings.xml? Servers. Yeah, here, this one I removed. Okay, servers is here. Proxies is ending here. I think while removing only the server tags that I created, I am also removing this header server stack. So that's why it is giving an error. It was like this by default. Server should be there. And we added in here, we added this one. To remove this from there, I also removed this part, I guess. That's why it's giving an error. So save this. Let's see now. Okay. Okay. So now if I go to runtime manager here, there is no any application. Let's see if it deploys it here. Deploying artifact, WC schools API fish. It says, as you can see here. So it will come here quickly. So what we have seen here is this one. I think you don't need to remember this, just understand the concept. Just in the command line to pass the values for any key, just add D, then the key name, then its value. That's what we are doing. And I will share this in, let me share it in the PD, in the Google slide so that you can get it. Then you modify it with yours. Okay. It will duplicate these and remove these. So paste. It is one line, just continuous one line, but you have to make sure there is space between this and then the next one, this one. So let me make this background like this. Background is not good. Okay. Let's see now if it gets, oh, this one is not yet there. I hope it will come soon. I'll take some 10 more minutes because we started about 10 more minutes late, plus there was some hiccup. So bear with me, please. Okay. One is coming. Yeah, it says creating application, as you can see. So it may take some time, like before. I don't need even to refresh it. It should show by itself. So, okay. We can also undeploy using the connected apps client credentials, client identity, client secrets. And the code for that is here. So also I will share it there. One is even longer because we have to specify the artifact path. Yeah, it goes out to here. So I will paste this here. So you have to replace, let me highlight the values that you want to replace. This one by your ID, background. I just want to replace, change the color. one, you replace this one, and you replace also this one. You don't need to replace this one. This is just the same client credentials. This is for deploying, and for undeploying, you have this. In this case, you have to change your artifact. And the same thing, the client ID and the client secret also have to be changed. So I can add here to deploy. And here to undeploy. Deploy. Okay, here in color values that should be changed. Not in color correspondence values that should be changed. Okay, let's see this one. What? No, that is not there yet. Okay. So weird. Taking so long. Okay. I'll change the font for this one. So, do you guys have access to this Google slide? It is the same Google slide that we have been using with the previous classes also. I think you can get it from the course, from the previous classes, Google Slides link, but I can share this one right now with you. Copy link. Come here and share there. Let's see. Interesting. Somewhat slow, but we are almost done for today's class. Okay. So you get these ones at the slide 55. How to use the connected app credentials. We can change this to pink also. Okay. Yeah, as you can see now, it is deploying. You can see it here. You can see also the artifact here. This is artifact name. This artifact name is what you will get if you go to target under that location. So under target, this one is this one. So the undeploy will specify this artifact name explicitly. Deploying. So as you can see right now, we didn't specify, we didn't add to any file our credentials. Our credentials are not there in the com.xml. They are not also included in the settings.xml. We just provided them in the command line or the terminal. Okay. Okay. Now, until this gets done, let me replace, by the way, for the artifact, I can copy it from here. Copy here. So to specify the artifact to be undeployed, I have to overwrite. I have to replace this one by this one. This is so under target, as you can see, under target, because by default, my command line should be where the pom.xml file is located. So it is here. Under that, there is target. and I want to undeploy, I have to specify the jar file that should be undeployed. So that is what we have done here when we when we want to undeploy an application. Okay, let's see. Is this deploy? Yeah, this one started, as you can see. So we can test it, but we have done that many times. Let's just undeploy and continue to the next. So securing properties. So to undeploy it, I just copy paste this code as is, because I have replaced it. My client ID and client secret are my real client ID and client secret, but for user will be different. This one, if it is the same project, the jar file also will be the same for it. So copy this. Again, here it shows in the status, it says the application has started. Okay. Application has started. If it has started, okay, it finished it here. Now, leave. Copy pasting it. Now I'm going to remove this application or undeploy it. Let's see how long it takes time for it to undeploy it. There is an error somewhere. What's the error? Unauthorized. Oh, okay. My I think client ID and the client secret are the correct ones. Let me see my client ID, copy ID. Oh yeah, these ones are old ones. Replace. Oh yeah. Copy secret. This one also replace. Let me make sure they are the same form as the rest. 14. Change color. Oh. I hope this one should work now. But you can see from the error, when you are asking, for example, error code, as I said, the error here is unauthorized. So from the errors you encounter, the more you practice, you see you get the different kinds of errors. So that way it helps you to master it well, to get ready for interviews and for the certifications and so on. So it is good to practice. This is a matter of practice, by the way. Okay, copy. Now paste it. Okay, this application, let's see if it can use it. And deploying doesn't take much time. Yep, now it is removed. Okay, perfect. So today, in this hands-on, we saw this part. Connected apps, two ways. We saw two ways. One, adding the client ID, creating the connected application first in any point platform under access management, under connected apps, creating the connected apps, specifying the scopes we need. We saw that. And then adding the client ID and the client secret in the settings.xml of the Maven configuration. We saw that. The other one we saw is also, rather than adding the client ID and the client secret to any file, just provide them in the command line. Now let's quickly see this one. It should not take us more than 10 minutes, I hope, because we want to integrate both of them in our next project. That's the reason I want to finish this one today. So for this one, I have the documentation here. If you remember, let me open one of the projects where we were using application properties. Close this one. I have MySQL somewhere. Since I have local MySQL, let's connect to that and get data, send some request to it. I want to show you the application properties, and now we are going to secure them rather than just providing the actual username, password, database name, and so on. Can you see my SQL somewhere? My SQL. This is Amazon MySQL. I have local MySQL parameters. Bear with me, guys, for a second. I'm looking for one of the projects that we are working on before. Just we will test get data MySQL. Yeah, this one is what I'm looking for. This project we created before a couple of months. So in here, so this one, what are we doing? This one is get data. So it gives data, the whole data. Just if you see the SQL code here, it is select star from employee. So the whole data in the employee table. This one for a specific ID, get data by ID, but the ID is passed as ERI parameter. So you can see here in the path we have ERI parameter within curly braces, as you can see. And from that we are creating a variable called ID. Then in our code, in our SQL code, here we have select star from employee, where employee ID is this key, and that the value of this key is vars.id. So that means it is going to give us data for the specific ID. And here it is transforming it to JSON and returning that, and so on. So now what I wanted to show you is in the connector configuration, we have this one, database connector configuration. Click edit. You see, we are using application properties using $sign and curly braces. And the value for this one is host, port, user, and password. Where did we specify them? We specified them under, if you go to the source menu resources, they are here under config.yaml. So here in this config.yaml, you see we are passing the actual values for host, password, user, database, and port. And this is not really recommended. Rather than doing that, first we encrypt them, then we pass the encrypted values, and the Mule runtime, it knows how to decrypt them and get these values. So that is what we are going to quickly see. So how do we do that? To do that, you have this documentation here under secure configuration properties. If you scroll down to encrypt properties using the secure properties tool. So there is this jar file. You have to download that and use that to secure, to encrypt your credentials. So this one, also I have added it in the Google Slides. You can get it from here. Create this font. Can get it from there, or so I can share it in the chat. So download it. We download it to your computer. So click download. If you just click this download link, yeah, it downloads it. For me, I have downloaded it here already. It is under downloads folder. Download it wherever you want it to be. For me, I have it downloaded here. So it is going to encrypt the strings that we give it for us. So how do we do it? The same thing here. You have to open a command line, cmd, in the downloaded cmd, and bring it here. I think if you type in Windows dir, it shows you what files are there. You see this secure properties tool.jar is there, which is this one. Now, if you scroll down in the documentation here, it shows how you can encrypt. You can encrypt files or text strings, but in our case, we want to encrypt text strings. And this is the code that you have to use. So it starts with Java -cp -secure properties -tool.jar. You don't change this one. This one, as you can see, this is just this file name, as you can see. Secure properties tool.jar is that one. Yeah, this also you don't need to change it. The only things that we want to change are the method. There are different methods. One of them is so the method is either encrypt or decrypt. If you want to encrypt it, it will be encrypt. Okay, sorry. Method is either string or file, I think. Yeah, method is string or file, and the operation is encrypt or decrypt. There are different algorithms also. You don't care. I mean, you can just use one of them, but there is algorithm specifies algorithm mode, then the key and this one. So this is the sum value to encrypt is the string that we want to encrypt. It can be username or password, and this is the key used for encrypting it. So I have different examples. Let me show you encrypt properties. I can copy these ones. In my case, since I want to encrypt the host database, all in this, let me show here. I want to encrypt all of this for my local MySQL database. So I will add this information here. So do like this. I guess I didn't copy the whole of it. Yeah, the first one. Java -cp is what it has to start with. So I am encrypting localhost. These are what I am encrypting: localhost. MuleSoft is the database name, I think, or the password. Database name is Northwind in this case. And the username is a database. Okay. What is MuleSoft? I guess okay. I'm trying. I was testing with a couple of them. Let's remove this. And for encrypting these values, I am using the key that I am using in this case is MuleSoft demo. Okay, I will use a different color for this. The same key, as you can see. This key has to be a little bit more complex in actual practice. Okay, now, so what we are going to do is we are going to replace these values by the encrypted values. And how we do that is, rather than simply putting it as string here, this one we will replace it by just quotation, exclamation, square bracket. So we put it, the encrypted value, we put it in this square bracket, and it knows the values are encrypted. That's what we are going to. I think for today, let's just practice with the encryption tool, and this part we can finish it tomorrow. So this one, you can copy it, just copy this one and run it in the command line and see what it gives you. It has to be under the location, in the location where this secure properties tool is located. So if I do like this, I really copy. So see, it gives me this value. So rather than localhost, now this is what I am going to use. See, so it is secure. So this one, copy it, take it to here, and paste it like this. The next one is password, but my password is MuleSoft 2022. So come here the same way. I just replace only this part. I can use the same key. So it will give me another value. Copy this also. So I have to remove this, right? The localhost now I don't need it. This one also I don't need it. So exclamation square bracket, the value get. For root also, I'm here, replace this. Our key is still MuleSoft demo root. Copy this. Exclamation square bracket. And our database name. Oh yeah, that will work. Thank you. And database name also Northwind. Do I have that database name? By the way, let me make sure first I have this database name still. I will open Workbench and make sure this database, the username and password, I didn't change it over time. So it is this one. Do I have Northwind? Yes. Northwind is the database name. Employee table is there. Let me, is the user, let me load, okay. Let me see. Database. Manage connections. So this one, local MySQL. The username it is root, but the password I don't know. It is stored here. Let me put this password and see if it works. If it still works. So the password was is MuleSoft 2022. Test connection. Okay, yeah, it's the same password still. Okay, perfect. So we replace it, the host, the password, the username. Let's do the same thing for database. Database is Northwind, so I just replace this by Northwind. I copy this value again. Here, this one, replace it by exclamation square bracket, that value we got from the encryption. I will encrypt also 3306. It gives me this one. Replace it here. Okay. So as you can see, we have encrypted our credentials. You can also test it. You can also decrypt if you want. So this one, for example, it has given us this value, right? Let's copy it and decrypt it and see if it gives us 6306. So what we do in that case is in the operation, I guess, operation, we change it. This one, the encrypt, we change it to decrypt. This operation here. This operation, where it has two values, either encrypt or decrypt. Algorithm and mode, we'll see there are lots of them. Blowfish is one algorithm, mode also CBC that is C. This key in our case is MuleSoft demo, and this you give it the values that you want to decrypt. If you specify decrypt here, you give it the value you want to decrypt here. If you will specify encrypt here, then you give the values that you want to encrypt here, which will be your credentials in this case. So what we do is now I will put the encrypted value, as you can see here. Let's see if it gives us this one, 6306. And also in the operation, I will change this to decrypt. Decrypt. Let's see. Yes. Decrypt. Let's see if it gives us 3306. So as you can see, it gives us 3306. If I do this one, it should give me root. One should give me root. So to decrypt, let me copy this one also to the Google Slides file. Okay. So for encryption, as you can see, encrypt. Let's see, encrypt mode, encrypted for decryption. You see, this one is decrypt. So this is the decrypted value. And this is this one. We have to give the key. If you don't give the right key, it will not work. And this is the response output that it gives us from that. So this one, this black is fine. So this one now in our, you see in our configuration config.yaml file, we have replaced the credentials. We will see using these credentials connecting to our database. And then next we are going to build an application in the cloud that uses MySQL in AWS RDS. We are going to secure our credentials, and we are going to also use connected apps to deploy it to CloudHub in our coming classes. But I think I should not take more time than this one. It is enough here. If you have questions, we can, tomorrow we'll have class, so further questions we can discuss tomorrow. But if you have one of the questions also, I can take today if you are not too tired. Let's see. Okay, first let me stop recording. And